Hi everyone, let's talk about Le Havre. And this is one of Uwe Rosenberg's classics. It's part of the Harvest trilogy, and it is a really, really fantastic game. It's one that I've probably played this the least out of any of any of his games that I've got actually. But being reminded of it and playing through it again after I think the last time we played it was a couple of years ago, and that was a 4-player game, so it was quite a different experience. It is just a fantastic game. The Everything is driven so that players have to interact, and it doesn't have to be all in negative ways. You can play it where you can buy buildings because you know other people are going for them and you know they'll have to come to your place. Or if somebody has built a building, you can just send your worker there and sit there for as long as you can to deny them using it, and then maybe force them to sell the building so that they kick you out. And then is it up for grabs for other people to buy now, or are they going to buy it back next round and then lose half of the money? There are many, many different ways that this can be played, and that kind of strategy of seeing what these buildings are available, seeing what buildings are available. What am I going to buy? Am I going to buy it with money and lose out on points and reduce my flexibility and options by not having that money, which can always be used as food and other things? Am I going to reduce that so I can just grab this building away and not have to waste time getting all of these resources and converting them up and things? I can just buy these things outright. Do I want to buy the things that the town is building? That's a good thing as well, driving it forward. It's not exactly like Snowdonia level of the game building things itself, but it has got a nice little pace of, if we are slowing down, the town will build things for us, and then it introduces those special buildings, and you're only going to have 6 in a game, and I can't remember the number. Was it 50 or 60 or more than that? This does include, as I mentioned, the expansion that came out, the little card expansion, and any bonus cards that ever came out for Le Havre in one go, because this is the Mayfair edition. The art's been changed a little bit, and the other change is that the boards used to be separate. The main board used to be separate things, and now it's one great big fold-out board. Not huge differences. I wouldn't say throw your old copy away and grab a Mayfair Le Havre, but if you are getting Le Havre for the first time, this is everything in one box. So you've just got an easy way of getting it there. So where was I? Special buildings. Yeah, there's a ton of them. And you could even play it where you make sure that the 6 that were in your game don't come out again, because you might not get to all 6 anyway. And you could go through that entire deck without repeating one for tons and tons of games. There are so many in here, and they change the game up in so many different ways as well. The one that lets you use your buildings even if people are in there. The one that will give you a ton of money for cattle, or let you buy cattle as well. So if you have a really good engine for making food out of cattle, then you can just buy some and have easier access to it and maybe sell other things. There's so many different parts to this game. It's the start of all of that. Agricola has all of the resource gathering and the farming and generating it that way. This is the start of all of the resource conversion, the things that get taken further in Aura Elabora or Feast for Odin or something, where it gets bigger and meatier. This is the start of it, where you have all of these double-sided tiles, and you are trying to upgrade things as much as possible, so it's either worth more money for the shipping yards, or it's worth more food, because you need food for everything. You need food to use other people's buildings. You need food because your people need feeding at the end of the round. It's an Uwe Rosenberg game, and that's going to ramp up, especially in the solo game. It is just really, really great. The solo game, I feel, doesn't really make it shine the way it should, because not much changes, and I think the biggest part of the game, for me anyway, was the fact that you can't have all of the buildings that you need. Other people are going to have them, and you're going to have to use other people's buildings at some point. So in the solo game, although the town is there, you can just buy things from the town, and giving a food to a town isn't really... It's annoying for you because you're spending it, but it's not benefiting anybody that the supply is getting more food. In a multiplayer game, that is another consideration of, not only am I losing this amount of food or money, I am giving it to you and helping you out. And in a 2-player game, that's a zero sum. It's, I'm losing that and helping my only opponent. So you're at an even bigger disadvantage. You can't decide, well, that building would be nice, but I'll go to this building instead because benefiting that person isn't as bad for me. So yeah, I think it loses that in the solo game. So I would recommend the multiplayer games more. There is, though, I just think it's great, and I tend to really like Uwe Rosenberg's games anyway. I wouldn't play, the way that I mentioned, where you could really vie for the buildings that people are desperate for, just buy them from under their feet, so they have to come to you and have to pay you all of the stuff. Or you could, purposely block buildings that people are desperate to use. If people need ships, then okay, there's only one wharf built. I'm going to build the first ship this round, and I'm just going to sit there because I don't necessarily need to use another building, so I'm just going to sit there for ages. You can play it like that, and while I wouldn't play it like that, and we don't, Rachel, who I play most of my games with, has a massive issue in games with any game where you can use other people's things or you have to give other people things. She absolutely hates that, and I think it's softer in here than other games, but the game is all about, you absolutely cannot have all of the buildings that you need. Either the town's going to have some or another player is going to have some, just because, oh, I happen to have these resources, I might as well build that building, or they're going along a similar path as you. You're going to end up splitting the buildings between you and needing to use each other's buildings. So you have to do it in this game, and that is just a massive issue for her. If, she needs to use a building and I'm sitting there, she just hates it. Whereas it's a big part of the game, and if she desperately needs to use one of my buildings, but she would need to give me stuff for it, really doesn't want to do that. Would rather just go our own separate ways and have our own separate buildings. And seeing as that is an absolutely intrinsic part of Le Havre, it's never... I'd hope things had changed, but yeah, I don't think it's going to end up being a game for us. But I think that's quite a specific concern that a lot of people won't have. I think the game in general is just fantastic. And, on top of all of that building stuff, it's got the great... I can't think of what they're called now, the supply spaces, where we're going to add these things. We don't know what order everything's going to be added to in the beginning, but we're going to reveal these tiles one by one, and that is going to be the order that things come out for the rest of the game. Every round, these things are going to come out in this order and get added to these spaces. And even in a two-player game, it is such a great, tense thing of... do I go for this now? I know that a load more wood is coming out later in this round, but if I leave it one more turn, what if you take all of that wood instead? And, I really want to do this round, but there's 6 fish sitting on that space. I could just take that and not have to worry about food for the rest of the round. And then, the variable turns where, in a two-player game at least, in alternating rounds, one person is going to get 4 turns and the other person is going to get 3 turns. And so that really affects your planning of, I need to do all of these things, but oh no, this is the round where I've only got 3 turns. So it's even more, it's even more tense, and I have to streamline my plan as much as possible, or more likely I have to move it into the next round. There's so many things I like about this. It's just a fantastic game. But yeah, if you play with people that really don't like the sharing of buildings, having to use other people's buildings, or maybe having their own buildings blocked, then that is a huge part of this game. So something to bear in mind. But I think it's a fantastic game. Le Havre. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye.